For the decision there to put in Davi on the final series?
Yeah, Taven had a hamstring earlier in the game, and we had taped it up. Just figured in that situation they'd be probably coming after us, and we needed somebody to get away from the pass rushing and maybe create something, and for the most part it worked.
Scott, offensively, you guys seemed to struggle in the second half. What were they doing? Maybe was it something they were doing, or was it something maybe you guys just kind of ran into?
No, I don't think they made any changes. They had a couple game plan things early. We handled them, and then started moving the ball a little better. We just got to execute better, if I'm being honest. We just got to get a little better at a lot of things. Our simple, easy runs that our guys should be able to handle, we need to get 5 or 6 like they were doing at the end of the game instead of 2 or 3. We got to complete more balls when you take a chance to throw. You got to get open a little better, throw it a little better. You can't just come up with a bunch of gimmicks and tricks to move the ball. We just need to do the basic things better.
Coach, defense, Philip Dunn had 3 interceptions, then the fumble on the muff, but the team had 4 turnovers. I know it's emphasized all season, got to get turnovers. Does it hurt to see that the team was doing that on the defensive side and the offense just couldn't match that energy?
For sure. West Virginia beat them last week. It was 4 turnovers by Houston. We got the same thing. We threw a pick 6, and that kind of negated one. And then there at the end, man, this is not an excuse. We're beat up. Jaden McDonald's out, and Malachi's out, and Nigel Leake's not in there some, and Braden Marshall's out, and Miles is out. That's a lot of our guys. And we leaned on the defense pretty heavy tonight with some 3 and outs and putting our defense back on the field. And we would have liked to have been ahead when we had a 10-point lead right before half. If you come back out and after halftime and have that lead, and maybe we can run it, and grind them out. And I think they did that to us again.
You talked about not beating yourself throughout the season. There were a lot of self-inflicted wounds on the penalties again this night.
Yeah, it got to get cleaned up, and Davi went in for the first time there, and I didn't want to burn a timeout. We saw the clock running down, but we had a little bit of a long play call, but we sent him straight out there, and we just didn't get out there. Another time, the O-line were standing up to make their calls, and we started a motion. We got to get set, and the quarterback's got to see that before he puts a guy in motion. The holding penalty there on the end killed us. We didn't get many calls, but we can fix those things if we just play better. And this is going to be a growth process. I know where this is going. I'm really proud of how our guys fought, and we're close. We're close to winning a bunch of these games. We got to get over the top.
On Davi, what was going into the decision to have him throw there at the end?
I wanted to use the timeout on after 3rd down. It's not really in me just to run the ball up the middle and go to overtime. We had a play that we liked. It's one of our base plays that he knew. We trust him. I thought Speedy was open. I got to look at the tape. Maybe we just didn't get to him fast enough. Even if that's an incomplete pass, we go out and kick the field goal. I'm not just going to call inside zone and get to in that situation. We got a chance to win the game.
Coach, how do you evaluate that last drive from Davi? Because you had some of those penalties, but he also scrambled for double-digit yards to give you a chance on that throw.
Yeah, I think particularly offensively, but across the board on our team, we need to do more tough things on the football field. I'm not saying we don't have tough guys. We had a lot of guys out there that battled today. But we got to get open against press coverage better, and we got to finish blocks and push piles better, and we got to take off and get tough yards from our quarterback spot better. Those are big plays because they extend drives and give you more chances. I thought Davi did a good job of that in that series. I feel terrible for him because he was a spark that got us down there in position to try to win the game, and honestly just threw that one late and behind him.
Did you get a chance to talk to Davi, and if you did, what did you tell him?
He was excited to go in. He came up to me and said, "Coach, let's go win this thing." And we kind of came up with a couple new plays for him before that drive. They hit. He did a good job executing them, and that's why I feel terrible for him. I thought he had a really good drive until that last play.
Coach, a number of players went down. Do you have any any information on the extent of their injuries?
No, I don't want to comment now. I just, a lot of our best guys weren't there at the end, and that's tough. Everybody goes through that in football. We seem to have a lot of them right now, and we got to try to do what we can to get guys back and healthy.
You look big picture now, the way it sits, you're gonna have to be the top 10 team on the road to get bowling. You know, how significant is the challenge ahead of you?
That's significant. But regardless, I look at a team like Houston. They weren't very good last year, and they found it this year. But one of the things about continuing to improve as a program is we got to finish this season strong. Regardless of what happens at the end of the season, we got to finish the season strong. We had our opportunities. We certainly had 2 close games that we could have just easily won at home. And if we have those, then we're not talking about that. But that's part of being a young team. We got to learn how to win close games, and we put ourselves in position to tonight.
Just for clarification's sake, the decision to go to Davi, was hamstring related for Taven as opposed to performance related?
Yeah, again, Taven was hurting at with his hammy, and they've been blitzing us in 11 personnel a lot. When we got in 12, they calmed down, but we needed to get in 11 to get our guys on the field to try to throw it down the field, and Davi's got the ability to get away from that, and he did. So it was a mixture of things, but yeah, Taven wasn't healthy.
Well, you're also down to currently 1 healthy scholarship running back. So how do you try to generate something when you're down that many bodies at that particular position?
Well, we need some other guys to play. It's not the situation we're in, but we'll get some update on Miles. Obviously, with Stacy and Swin out, that was a hit before the season, in the middle of the season, and now you're at several positions, you're just kind of holding your breath because with the roster limits at 105 and where we were from a salary cap and NIL standpoint, we just don't have that many guys in certain spots. So, hey, next man up, we just gotta keep grinding.
Coach, I know you mentioned injuries, but was there anything schematically that Houston did that you felt like kept them in the game?
No. We install a lot of stuff to try to take advantage of what they do, then they change, and we have to adjust to that. For the most part, I thought the game plan was good. This is the second time at home that we came out after halftime and didn't do well on the first drive. We weren't in the wrong things. We didn't execute very well, and that put our defense on the field more. This team, particularly offensively, seems to do well. When we get a first down and get it rolling, we do pretty well. But that's what I mean about tough things. Like, we shouldn't have to always script a bunch, set, motion, screen back to the tight end to get a first down. They didn't on that last drive. They just ran it and got first downs. And then you can use your game plan plays a little more when you need them and when you need a spark. And that's what I mean about doing something simple and tough things a little better. That'll change everything for us.
Coach, you mentioned how you want to finish the season strong. Next week you play Texas Tech. What does your team need to do to be able to get your first role?
I appreciate the question. I'll talk about Texas Tech on Tuesday. I got a disappointed team right now and a team that fought really hard. And we're going to put this one to bed before we think about it.
Now you said Taven Jackson was banged up, but how would you evaluate his performance at quarterback tonight?
I don't ever want to do that. I want to watch the tape and see. Obviously, we didn't complete as many balls as I would have liked to, and you look at the quarterback. It's not always on the quarterback. If we miss a protection, that's not on the quarterback. If we don't run a good route, that's not on the quarterback. And it's tough because if we're a little bit better in a lot of ways, and these games were really close.
It looked like it had they called a touchback there on the punt. What did you see there, and why wasn't that reviewed?
In college, if the ball breaks the plane at all, it's a touchback. It didn't look like it did on tape to me, but I don't have a good angle, and we might need to get some more cameras installed here because that's the second time on that goal line that we don't have a good angle of it. They told me they didn't have a good angle of it, so I don't know. I don't want to comment on that.
Scott, you say you have a disappointed team. You have a banged up team that played really hard today. What was your message maybe to this team as you try to get them maybe to bounce back from today?
I just told them to hold their head up high. I thought they fought really hard. And this morning the message was they're coming off a disappointing week. We were coming off a disappointing week. Both teams are going to be hungry. You know, I thought they were going to come in and just try to out-hit us, and we couldn't let them do that. And we talked about playing hard right till the end, and we did. You know, they did everything I asked them to do. You know, we're just coming up a player too short, and it's tough to deal with. But I know where this is going. You know, we're going to keep getting better. We're right in these games in the Big 12, so it's not that far away. But we're not going to get there if we don't improve. And there's several things that, as a coaching staff and players, we can continue to do to improve.
Coach, go back to defense. What does it mean to this group after that performance today?
Defense has played pretty well all year. I give Coach Grinch a lot of credit. You know, we got a lot of guys that I would go to battle with anytime. You know, Kozlowski's out there making plays and playing a lot of plays. We got guys hurt, and Malachi and Angelique are disruptive. And thought the D-line had to rotate in. We were missing guys there, and thought they did a good job. Our corners have held up all year. Obviously, Phil showed up in a big way today. I think Coach Grinch has done a great job with that, and they're keeping us in games. We can be better there, but if we're a little better on the offensive side and don't put them in those spots, then I think we could be even more dangerous on defense.
You mentioned in previous weeks we need to be more creative in short yardage situations. So when did you install putting Mayaba in at the fullback spot, and you know, what kind of like has he shown maybe in practice to jump into that role?
Yeah, we installed that actually a couple weeks ago, but we haven't really had the goal line to go situation since. We thought about running it at Baylor on 3rd and 1, but it was 3rd and 1 and 3rd and kind of a long one. And you know, he's a tough kid. So you know, if those are the things we have to do, then you're going all the way back. You know, we did a lot more of those things in year 2 here because the guys understood the scheme and we were able to do more of those things. Even right now, adjustments. There's only so much our guys can handle right now because of the youth of our team. So we try to, at halftime and other times, talk about the 3 or 4 things that we can put in or change that they're going to go out and execute without changing too many. So more of those things will come as we get more veteran.
All right, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.